The Pokemon games have been one of the most important forms of media to me for years now. The earliest game I remember playing is Leaf Green from the Game Boy Advance SP. Ever since then, I have made it a point to make sure to play every single Pokemon generation that's been released. Every single one was enjoyable until Generation 7. That's when things started to get somewhat different. Now, granted, some may say Generation 6 is where things started to get off track and deviate from how the first 5 generations were. And that definitely makes sense, especially since that was the generation that started 3D Pokemon games, and is when some may say the game started to get way too easy and began just giving players new rare Pokemon without any effort from the player. But honestly, given how enjoyable the story was and how great the game looked from the 3DS perspective, I still think it's a quality Pokemon game that's great. The game still maintained a lot of the magic and essence that made all previous Pokemon games a joyful experience. But all that changed from Generation 7, one I would still call the worst generation of Pokemon games. It was the first time I literally didn't enjoy a Pokemon game. I mean, honestly, it was weird. From playing these games for years, these games have always brought a level of enjoyment and a sense of adventure, but this game was pure annoyance and frustration. The tutorials and over guidance during the beginning portion of the game was unbearable, treating all players as if they were 5 years old, like they had never played any Pokemon game beforehand, completely robbing players of any sense of adventure. The new Pokemon designs had also been at its worst. The battles had seemingly gotten extremely easy to the point that any sense of a challenge had been completely dissipated. Gyms were completely gone, and the story had been reduced to mediocre nonsense. And despite all this, at the time, I had thought that this was maybe just a one-off terrible game, and that the next generation would be right back to being a great and enjoyable game. You know, everyone's entitled to one bad game, right? Damn. Was that the wrong line of thinking? Because unfortunately, this was actually the start of a new trend of bad Pokemon games, where the games would essentially follow the same characteristics of bad writing, multitudes of simplistic battles, overly linear progression of the story, and an over guidance from NPC characters.